Well, companies like Medtronic have perhaps a little more visibility on the future as we come out of the pandemic. The company, for the first time in more than a year, giving a forecast after the company also came in with earnings and sales that beat estimates. Shares, though, trading down by a little bit here this morning. Let's bring in Karen Parkhill. She is the Chief Financial Officer at Medtronic, as well as our Anjalee Khemlani. Karen, thank you so much for being here. So let's talk, first of all, about that visibility. I mean, there are a lot of companies coming out this earnings season and still saying they don't feel confident enough to give a forecast. What gave you guys that confidence and visibility a little bit more in the future?
We are excited about our future. And when we look ahead, we're seeing more and more recovery from the global pandemic, which gives us that confidence to drive reinstate our guidance this quarter. And with our guidance, we increased it above what the street was expecting on the revenue to 9% plus or minus. And we're super excited and confident to be able to deliver that.
Karen, I know I'm glad you brought up the pandemic because obviously a lot of focus still on that. Talk to us about what you see as, either changes that the company is looking to make or ways that the strategy has been affected by this pandemic going forward.
Yeah, so we started into the pandemic saying that we were going to come out even stronger. And I would say that indeed we have come out stronger. We did not cut back on our workforce. We did not cut back on our manufacturing. We purposefully maintained our investments through the pandemic. And in doing so, we've garnered, greater credibility with our customers, with our employees, with the patients that we serve. And we were able to do so because we had a strong financial footing. We had a very strong financial position going into the pandemic. We had enough liquidity to weather the storm. We've indeed weathered it and haven't dipped into the cash on our balance sheet despite the pandemic. So we've got an even stronger future ahead of us to drive this continued growth. And we're purposefully investing even more this year to drive the growth ahead.
So Karen, talk to me about the cadence of medical spending right now. I mean, what we're all sort of talking around is that during the pandemic, people were not getting elective surgeries done. In some cases, they were even putting off necessary surgeries, right, in which your devices are used. So what's coming back? Where is it coming back? And in which devices and areas do you see the most growth?
Yeah, so it's varying between our geographies and our businesses. But what I would say in the United States, we are seeing a very strong comeback, and we expect Europe to come back quickly as they roll out the vaccines and reach the vaccinated population that we have here in the United States. In terms of business, some more elective procedures are still not back to pre-COVID levels, but we certainly have seen strong improvement and expect it to continue, where the vast majority of our procedures are already between 85 and 100% of pre-COVID levels. And there are certain cases where we are above pre-COVID levels. So we expect that momentum to continue and for us to reach back to those pre-COVID levels this fiscal year for sure.
What are you expecting from the FDA? I know that a lot has been discussed about potentially streamlining, reducing a lot of red tape as we saw during the pandemic. But right now, the FDA released just yesterday, a memo saying there is still going to be a lot of follow-up, especially on the medical device front. So do you see any changes to the regulatory process? And what are you anticipating, especially out of the FDA for the duration of the year?
Yeah, so we know that the FDA was focused on dealing with important pandemic matters, over the last couple of years. And as a result, we were seeing some slowdowns in approvals from them, but that's picking up pace again. And, particularly in our diabetes business, where the diabetes FDA team was the team also focused on COVID-19. But we now have files within the FDA that are being actively reviewed right now within our diabetes business, and we're excited to pick up the pace again.
Hey, Karen, I got to ask you about supply. I mean, it seems like anybody who makes anything right now is seeing some supply chain difficulty, whether it's chips, whether it's just manufacturing of anything. What are you guys seeing on that front?
Clearly we do use semiconductors and we do use resins, and I'd say those are the two things that many companies are talking about being supply constrained. But I would say that we have very strong business continuity plans in place with our suppliers. We have very good relations. We don't see an issue for us right now. And I would say that when you're focused on manufacturing life-saving devices, you take precedent.
And I'm just curious, quickly, have you guys raised prices?
Pricing is varies amongst our businesses. In general, we see pricing pressure every year across our businesses, and we're focused on offsetting that pricing pressure through cost reduction, particularly in our cost of goods sold, so that you don't see that impact show up on our gross margin. But there's competitive pressures all around, and we continue to see pricing pressure for all of our products.
Interesting. All right, Karen, thanks for spending time with us this morning. Karen Parkhill is the CFO of Medtronic. Appreciate it, as well as our Anjalee Khemlani.